Yo guys, before the run, I would just like to give a quick shout out to all of my buddies watching me at ESA.
Woo!
Yeah. So I'm Nitros. I'm going to be running a Link's Awakening Warpless today. Joining me on commentary, I have Martin and Hi-Fi, two runners of this game. So we should be pretty much ready to go. So we're going to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Bro, start the button.
Oh. Sorry, yeah. All right, so this is Link's Awakening. It's a 2D Zelda game released for the Game Boy back in 1993. Not to be confused with the remix of this game, Link's Awakening DX and Link's Awakening for the Switch. This one is distinguishable because it's in black and white, and it's also the best out of the 3 runs,
That's so true.
objectively.
So
So
true.
when getting started here, we're going to be heading down to the beach and just grab our sword, and I'll just run down real quick what this category is about. So as the name Warpless kind of suggests, it's pretty much a category that's not going to abuse any major kind of warp glitches. So we're still going to be playing through pretty much all of the game, complete all of the 8 dungeons, and beat the final boss in a fairly normal way. So now I'm about to get the sword here, and what's going to come up is that I'm going to be wanting to collect a lot of rupees on the beach. So maybe one of you could explain rupee duping.
Yeah. So we need 10 rupees to buy bombs in the shop after this, and basically when you get a rupee drop and it hits your shield, the knight is gonna hold out his shield while collecting these rupees. There's a chance that you just collect 2 rupees from it hitting your shield hitbox and Link's hitbox.
So these enemies here have a
Yeah, just
50-50
like that.
chance of
And
dropping
again.
rupees. All right, we got 6 of them. We're going to have to get the rest on the grass. And we're going to be spending these rupees in the shop very shortly. Well, we're going to be spending them a little bit later. But we're going to be getting a lot of stuff in the shop. You want to kind of talk about the stuff we're going to buy?
Yeah, so the shop, right away, it's gonna have a bow, and the bow is a super powerful weapon in this game. In general, it allows us to kill bosses very fast. But first, there's a shovel for 200 rupees. Sadly, we don't have them, but we can just steal them in a Link's Awakening fashion. But now this guy's gonna kill us, because stealing is bad, guys. Don't do it. But that's fine, because we can just respawn instantly and grab some bombs.
Yes,
So
one neat trick here with the bombs is that if you open the save and quit menu at the same time as saying yes to buying the bombs, you buy the bombs, but you save and quit before the rupees can actually tick down. So we can essentially get them for free as well.
Yeah.
But we're going to be spending them for real down here in the trendy game. We're going to be wanting to win some magic powder, which is going to be useful in one of the dungeons later on. It's quite a difficult minigame, and don't really know what just happened there, but I want to try and skip this guy's text box if possible.
Yeah, by opening the save and quit menu right as you talk to him, you can just skip his entire text box. That's gonna happen a bunch of times in this run. I believe also right after grabbing this powder maybe, or
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you can pretty much just skip a lot of text boxes just by opening the save and quit menu, which is super good.
Now we're going to be heading up to the forest to try and get the keys to Dungeon 1, and we're going to be trying to abuse one of the first major glitches that is allowed on this run called bomb triggering. Essentially how they work is that there's this thing in this game called bomb arrows, which you can do by pressing bombs and arrows at the same time. But more specifically, you have to press them within 7 frames of each other. So basically how that works is that when you use a bomb or an arrow, it starts a 7-frame timer, and then it looks for the corresponding item in order to upgrade it to a bomb arrow. But if you manage to place 2 bombs instead within this timer, the game kind of screws up because it tries to upgrade the arrow, even though I haven't actually shot one, and instead ends up upgrading, or rather triggering, this cutscene here. So I can just walk on through and get the dungeon key. Gonna save and quit back to the house that I entered to be a little bit closer to the dungeon. And now with the key, we're just gonna head to Dungeon 1, which would normally be a pretty normal travel, but I'm gonna attempt something really stupid here, and we'll see if it works out. Ah, okay. And now the rocks are kind of going on the way, but you can essentially get a little pit walk there if you're lucky with sub-pixels and have really good timing. Unfortunately, didn't get it, but it's only a couple seconds of time save, so no big deal.
Yeah, those bomb triggers are going to be used all over the run. It's a super powerful glitch, just triggering any cutscene pretty much on the screen.
So this is Dungeon 1. It's gonna kind of start out pretty standard as far as Zelda dungeons go. Just gonna get some small keys, kill some enemies here and there to unlock the rooms, but once we get the dungeon item, which is the Rock's Feather, that's gonna let us actually jump, which is kind of a rarity among some Zelda games, but in a lot of the 2D ones there's items like this that let you jump, and in this game it happens to be very, very broken. There's a lot of glitches involved that use the Rock's Feather, so the game is gonna kinda get broken pretty quickly once we end up getting it. Just gonna go through the side-scrolling section here real quick. There's gonna be these blade traps here. I'll just take it safe since I took a little bit of damage earlier. We'll just save and quit when grabbing the feather. So yeah, like I said, the Rock's Feather allows us to jump, and there's kind of a neat trick that you can do with it called super jumping, which works by, if you basically walk into the corner of one of these dungeon walls here, the walls actually are made out of tiles that act like ledges. So if I jump against the wall and then use an item to face away from the wall, I essentially get a ledge drop added onto my initial jump. So I'm able to clear a couple of obstacles here, like the small key block that you normally would not be able to pass through. Again, right there, just jumping over the obstacles. And that's another really broken glitch in this run.
Yeah, and as I said, the bow is super powerful. Just kill that guy in 2 shots.
Coming up on the first boss here, Moldorm. He's actually one of the tougher bosses in this run. You want to just hit this tail 4 times, but he can be a little bit of a troll.
Yeah,
Thankfully,
like,
it wasn't too bad.
if his head is above the tail hitbox, sometimes your sword will just clank off, and you can't hit him.
And there's the end of Dungeon 1. That's our first instrument out of 8. I do want to point out that there is a way, actually, to skip the cutscenes of this instrument. For a couple of technical reasons with kind of flags and story progression, we're not actually able to attempt it on this instrument, but I am going to be attempting to skip the cutscenes of the other 8 instruments. Or the 7, I should say, in the run. But yeah, now we're just going to be on our way to Dungeon 2, and I think this might be a good time to read off maybe 2 or 3 messages if you got any.
Outstanding. So, as Skemmy was saying that we obviously missed some earlier, we're in the process of sorting that, so I'm just going to carry on from where I think we roughly are. So we got $40 from Strife the Historian, who says, "Finally, a new amazing week of speedruns for us to enjoy. Goosebert for life, I love you all, see you in summer." My friend, I will see you then. And we have opened a new target for the Lego Pirates of the Caribbean tomorrow, to have the characters put in disguises. And there will be more coming up shortly once I get back to the machine of things. We have $40 from Hardcore Gaming. Huge shout outs to Nitros and my lads Hi-Fi and Martin on the couch. Thanks for being awesome friends, and let's have an amazing week at ESA.
Let's go.
And of course the biggie, the $100 from BTFM. Greetings from Canada, big fan of Nitro here. Nitro, could you please do a quick run of Umihara during the credits? Thanks, smile.
Alright, so here we're gonna be fighting this little mini-boss here. We didn't really talk about it, but there was a sequence there in town where the chain chomp at the beginning of the game, Bao, got kidnapped by these moblins. So we're just gonna go and beat them up in their hideouts, beat up this moblin boss here. He goes down pretty quickly with just some spin attacks and slashes in 2 cycles. And we're gonna be freeing Bao in this next room here. He's gonna be useful because Bao can basically eat some enemies, and there's a couple of flowers outside of the second dungeon that he's gonna have to eat for us to progress. But real quick here, I'm gonna be doing a trick to kind of clip through these rocks. Normally you need the power bracelet to actually lift these up, but if you just squeeze really hard in the middle of the rock in the gap, you can also get through just fine.
Good Bow Wow RNG.
Yeah, it was not bad.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes Bow Wow can just take minutes. Okay, not minutes, but
That right there was the only use, actually, in the run for magic powder. You saw I wasted it all, and that's because I'm actually going to be wanting to pick up an item known as the mushroom after this dungeon. And the reason why I had to waste all the powder is because normally you would actually make the mushroom into powder with the help of a witch. That sequence is the one we skipped by doing the bomb trigger earlier in the woods, but yeah, you're basically not allowed to have the powder and the mushroom at the same time, since they like share the same item ID, since you would make the mushroom into the powder, so that's why I had to get rid of it there. We're coming up on another really tricky mini-boss here with the bow and arrow as well.
Yeah, let's see if we can get it right. Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah. That deserves applause.
And so, unlike the first dungeon, we're actually going to cut this dungeon a bit short. I'm actually just going to be grabbing the dungeon item and then just dipping, so it's going to be right in here. There's this ghost room where you normally have to light the torch, and they get scared and fly away, but you can just forcibly shoot them out of the screen and it works just as well. Just gonna get through that flower there, and now we're gonna head back to the forest and grab the mushroom like I mentioned. Normally, not really a very significant item in casual play. Like I said, you would pretty much just use it to make magic powder, but in this run it's gonna have a lot more utility for a couple of tricks later. So we're just gonna pick it up right now. And another small little detour I'm gonna do before actually heading off to Dungeon 3 is that we're gonna go to the right here, which is actually the way to Dungeon 4, which we're gonna see a bit later in the run. But the reason why I'm going here is because we're actually gonna be visiting a screen with a fast travel warp. And fast travel warps, you know, I know the category is called Warpless and everything, but fast travel warps are something we're gonna be using a lot in this run. So just gonna grab it on the screen to the right here and do another save and quit back. We're gonna be opening the save and quit menu a lot in this run, as you've probably already noticed, both to skip text boxes and also to cut out a lot of backtracking to just go back to our last entrance point. So yeah, coming up, we're going to be doing another kind of sequence break with the mushroom. You're normally supposed to go to this castle in the game and collect 5 golden leaves to get the key to Dungeon 3. You would get into basically this like garden a couple screens down from here, but there is actually another way to get in if you use the mushroom on a pit. The mushroom basically like it brings up this text box and Link is like holding up the mushroom. It's really cool. But one quirk that has is that Link is unable to actually fall down the pit if we're holding the mushroom. So just like that, we can just fall into the garden without any of the prior requirements, and we can dig up the key right here. It looks like a leaf, but trust me, it works just fine as the key to Dungeon 3. Gonna do a quick little escape here by just clipping properly. Since Link cannot actually fall on any of those bush tiles, it kinda has to like choose the first normal tile. So we just end up falling outside of the garden perfectly fine. And we're gonna be unlocking this dungeon from kind of the wrong way, but you know, Link has really long arms, so he's able to reach. No problem. So this is Dungeon 3. First I'm gonna throw this paw into the door, and there's gonna be a lot of rooms here when I'm gonna be purposefully killing a lot of enemies. And it's for a very good reason, not just to get some small keys here, but also to kind of rack up my kill counter. The game basically has this system where if you get 30 kills without like a save and quit or a death in between, it gives you this item drop called a Piece of Power, which is really useful. This is really the only part in the run where we're gonna get it, but basically it's gonna allow us to walk faster and also have stronger sword damage as well as more knockback, and it's gonna be coming up in this room right here. Right there. And
Great music as well.
Yeah. And here's another fancy little super jump, gonna clink off at the Dongo mini boss there and just completely skip it. Another super jump here, and we're gonna get the Pegasus boots. And there's another trick here that maybe Martin could help me explain.
Yeah, so we're just gonna, in this room, do a little setup for these skeletons to go in the right place and do a super jump, shield bump in midair right off the skeletons to get onto that ledge, skip a couple rooms. That was very nice.
Yeah, that's a little bit precise, so it was very nice that I got that first try. Gonna be doing another clink after the dongles right there. Mini boss gone. And another clip here, similar to the one we got into Dungeon 2 with. It works with any block that gives you a text box, basically saying that you need this and that to actually get through it. But we can just squeeze right on through it, no problem.
Yeah, also interesting on those ladders that go downwards on the 2D sections is when you hold down for 4 frames on the top of them, you just fall down instead of climbing down. It's a little bit faster.
Ooh. Alright, so this iBoss can be a little bit annoying. You have to split him up first and then break him in the middle by dashing. Alright.
Bonking the door there because when you're on the ground and they fall down, you get stunned. Alright, very nice. So that was an ICS, basically what Nitro said earlier. Opening the save the menu right when you touch the instrument allows you to open the save and quit menu and just save and quit out of the cutscene, completely skipping it. Very nice. That was a 1-frame trick. Super precise.
Yeah. It's a very tricky trick to do in runs because obviously if you miss it, you have to watch through the entire cutscene just like in Dungeon 1. Waste about like 16 seconds or so on average, so it's very nice to get in all of the 7 dungeons left in the run. And now we're going to be heading over and do a couple of things. We're going to want to get another key for Dungeon 4. And I'm going to be doing something a little bit interesting here. So I'm going to be taking a lot of damage here intentionally for another bomb trigger coming up that I'm going to do. The thing with this one is that it's going to activate a cutscene. But I'm actually... when the cutscene ends, it's gonna kind of be in a bit of a weird state where the game still thinks I'm in a cutscene even though I can still move around. So it's very important that I have a little health here because when you're in the cutscene state that it's gonna lock me into, I basically can't use any of my buttons like A, B, start, or select. They're just disabled. I can just move around. And the 2 ways you can get out of that with is to either die or to enter a cave. And in this case, dying is way faster because it's just gonna respawn me in that house and town that I entered. So yeah, I'm trying to press all the buttons I can here. It's not doing anything, so we just gotta take the death on the screen to the right here from one of the levers. And we'll just respawn back here. So now we can actually use items again. We're gonna take a little quick trek through the desert to try and get the Dungeon 4 key. There's gonna be a crazy little boss fight as well to get the key.
Yeah, another very hard boss fight with the bow. Let's see this. Wow.
Incredibly
so fast,
hard.
the boss doesn't even spawn. Yeah, his hitbox is just there even though the boss doesn't spawn, so we don't even see him. That's very funny. And then gonna use the warp we activated earlier to go back to Dungeon 4.
Exactly, yeah. It was worth the detour after Dungeon 2 to get this, just so we can reach Dungeon 4 as quickly as possible after getting the key. Just gonna take this one as well. And now unlock the dungeon. And there's gonna be a funny little trick as well that we're gonna use to get into the dungeon. Normally you would have to kind of like walk around and through some mountain cave in order to jump and fall down above that screen in order to get into the dungeon. But we're gonna be using another little super jump, kind of like in Dungeon 1 here, to just go on top of this wall and then just go into the staircase here. And now we're in Dungeon 4.
Yeah, so this game, similar to Link's Awakening DX, in that game the category is called No Wrong Warp, No Out of Bounds. In this game it's just called Warpless, but there's still an out of bounds rule that's a little bit different from the LADX one, which makes this category also different. So you saw Nitros go out of bounds there, but the out of bounds restriction that is on this category is transitioning on a solid tile, which is not allowed. But you can still like go out of bounds as long as you're not screen transitioning on a tile that's like a wall, for example, is what's meant with solid tile.
We're gonna do a tricky little jump here to skip the crossroads, and a slightly longer mini-boss, one of the hardest mini-bosses in the run, honestly. I mean, if you've seen the other two, that might be not very surprising. But he's gonna just get stun locked by my spin attacks. He's only more difficult because he's a bit longer. Not that there's any real difficulty. And in this next room here, we're gonna be getting a pretty pivotal item as well. It's gonna be the Sora's Flippers, which you might recognize from other games, or the Flipper, I guess. It's going to allow us to swim, essentially, which is going to be needed to navigate some of the rest of this dungeon and also the overworld later on. Coming up here, there's also a bit of a tricky super jump that I'm going to try.
Yeah, so he's gonna do the super jump bouncing off it, and then bouncing off it again, doing another super jump from the side. 2 quick super jumps in a row to get up to the boss key. Completely skipping like a big part of the dungeon. And going straight to the boss. Very nice.
Another insane boss fight here with the bombs and arrows coming up.
Yeah. So spin attack, 2 bombers, he's dead.
He's done.
The boss are kind of a joke in this game.
Oh, it's gonna get even better later on when we get some more items.
Yeah. And another ICS attempt right here. Let's see it. Nice,
wow.
very nice.
2 for 2?
2 out of 2 for 2.
Yeah, again, that trick is very precise because you need to try and open the item menu on pretty much the frame where you land on the instrument. In some cases, you can get 2 frames because essentially how it works is that on the frame that Link lands from being in the air, he has like a frame of invulnerability where the thing below him won't actually affect him. So that's kind of the frame that we're trying to hit, but because Link can also only grab instruments on every other frame, like kind of like a frame rule kind of thing, in some cases you get 2 frames, but it's not really something we can control. So it's definitely very precise and a bit nerve-wracking every time.
Yeah, and now we're making our way to Dungeon 7. Doing a bit out of order.
Yeah, there's gonna be a fairly major skip coming up.
Yeah, this is the biggest skip in the game.
Oh,
Oh, come on.
second try.
Second try.
Okay, but there's actually for real gonna be a big skip coming up. That's known as a rooster skip. Normally you would go to Dungeon 7, I mean, as the name would suggest, way later in the game. We've only beaten 1, 3, and 4. So you would like have an ocarina song to wake up a rooster that would be able to fly over some pits in this cave, but we're just gonna go to the screen to the left instead and just do a couple of super jumps here. It's really not that complicated.
2, then another one right there, and just grab the boss key. Wow, not the boss, the dungeon key.
And
Very
just fall
nice.
back down and get back on track to the dungeon. Just coming up here, there's going to be a bit of like just movement through some caves to reach Dungeon 7, so definitely have some time for a few more messages if you have any.
Oh, we've got $10 from Kata, who says, filling my taxes while watching ESA. According to my calculations, I owed Make-A-Wish $10. Please don't audit me. So, yeah, anyone else who's like currently filling their tax in tax season, as of course we are, whatever you're making back, good cause. You should probably invest in that. Good to say that we were already at $75 out of $500 for our put a disguise on the characters target for the Lego Pirates of the Caribbean incentive, and I guarantee if that gets met by the time we get to the end of this run, and the bonus run following will absolutely open up some prime time Tomb Raider. Put the guy in the fridge.
That was another quick mushroom jump there, similar to the one we did to get into the villa earlier. Just skipping the use of the hookshot in that cave. A hookshot is another item you might recognize from other Zelda games. And it's a dungeon item of Dungeon 5 in this game, but we're just gonna never actually get it in the run. We don't need it.
Also, very interesting there, there's supposed to be a cutscene of the like Dungeon 7 entrance turning around, but since we still have Bawa, we actually just never gave Bawa back. He's still with us. He can actually just eat the cutscene.
Yeah, it's really weird. The cutscene is just like an object there that for some reason Bao was able to eat.
And that skips like saves a small amount of time.
So if you liked bomb triggers from earlier in the run, you're really gonna like this dungeon here, because there's these 4 pillars here that all have a cutscene for falling down, and normally what you're intended to do is bring this metal ball around in a dungeon to just throw at the pillars to try and break them down, but we can just use bomb triggers and initiate all the cutscenes by force. Nice little super jump there as well, and here's the final pillar. Just like that.
Nice.
So we need to do that to basically collapse the upper half of the tower so that we can reach the lair of the boss. And on the way to the boss, there's going to be kind of an annoying trick as well that you might want to try explaining as well.
Yeah, so right before the boss room, you're supposed to go around, use the hookshot, which we still don't have, I think, and get to the boss room. But we can use a super jump right in the next room, in the room after this. and bounce off this Goomba, but sadly, the way the Goomba walks is RNG, so we need to look out for a Goomba walking at the top to the right there. Do a super jump, bounce off him, and get up there. Very nice. That is a tricky trick. That is very hard.
Alright, so this eagle fight here, normally you would like fight with probably some other items, but we're gonna be using the bombs here. They're pretty strong. He's gonna go down in 3 hits. We're gonna be kind of trying to optimizing the fight by throwing the bombs further up here so that he has to fly up for less amount of time in the other hits. So that's 2, and then a quick little tech skip on the last one for the save and quit menu.
Nice.
And he goes down.
Also interesting, on the next screen, if you just hold up at the top of the screen, you just enter the door at the bottom. Very interesting. And a 3rd ICS. 3 out of 3 frame perfect tricks. This guy is insane. Holy.
I think I've hit 3 in my life.
Alright, so that's that for Dungeon 7. Now we're going to be heading over to Dungeon 8, actually. You know, we're just trying to stick to the order now. And Dungeon 8 is actually a very important part of the run because, you know, so far we've gotten a couple of pretty good dungeon items from most of the dungeons, but Dungeon 8's dungeon item is very special. Also on the way here, we're going to be doing a few more mushroom hovers here to just be able to get across here again without having the hook shots.
Yeah.
And there's actually a really important one, especially coming up in the cave here, which is going to involve a frame-perfect jump that I have to do in order to make it up to the ledge on the other side. So we'll see how that goes here. It's not a big deal if I mess it up a few times. You can just retry it, but we'll see here.
So, jump to the bottom here, and then, see? Very nice. Pressing the feather and up on the same frame just to barely make that ledge right there.
Yeah, that can be really tricky sometimes. Once again, you need to press them on the same frame, otherwise you will not have enough distance to actually make it over. Now, Dungeon 7 did also have an item in it called a mirror shield that you would normally need in this cave coming up to reach Dungeon 8. It's gonna have this like flamethrower that you would need to reflect, but you can just like kind of clip into the wall, run against fire, and just go through anyway. No big deal.
And right here, we're supposed to have another ocarina song. We have neither the ocarina nor the song, so using another bomb trigger to wake up the turtle, I guess. And can also just skip the turtle rock fight, can just run past him. Very funny.
This is Dungeon 8. Like I said, our main objective here is going to be 2 things. We're going to be wanting to collect the dungeon item, which is going to be really useful for the rest of the run. And we're also going to be collecting the Nightmare Key. This is going to be another one of those dungeons that we're not finishing right away, similar to Dungeon 2. We're going to come back later. This time it's not really because of equipment, just for routing reasons. Also, here's the sideways block push. You can push the blocks the wrong way if you're positioned appropriately, just like that. Get some refills in the room here to help us out. There's going to be kind of a tricky side-scrolling section here coming up where I'm going to try doing some really fast movement, but it's kind of precise. We'll see how it goes. Ah, okay. That's what happens when you go a little bit early. It just goes...
yeah, you have to switch from like down right to upright very fast to make it to that platform, to make that platform cycle.
And another super jump here. There's actually a mini-boss fight below the screen, but you can just do a nice little super jump there. And this is the magic rod, the dungeon item of Dungeon 8.
Yeah, this is definitely the most important item of the entire game. And you'll see why in a couple of seconds. So first we're gonna make our way to the... I guess that's another mini-boss. Just by going through this 2D section. And what we're doing here is shooting the fire rod and opening the menu at the same time, which kind of loads so many fire rod shots that the object on the next screen just don't have any more space to be loaded because they're all loaded with fire rod shots. And you can use that pretty much everywhere to just deload all the enemies on screen, completely skipping that boss.
And now we're about to do something interesting as well. Because the boss is still here, the transition doesn't really work properly. And so when I jumped up there, my position kind of underflowed and screen wrapped me actually to the screen below. So that right there was not a warp for those worried. That was just a simple screen wrap to an out-of-bounds screen inside Dungeon 8. They just happened to all look like that room with the chest in it containing a level 2 power bracelet.
Yeah.
Which is really convenient because the level 2 power bracelet is normally the dungeon item of Dungeon 6, which is the dungeon we're about to go to right now. So it's really nice that we could just get it in that dungeon and not have to actually grab it in Dungeon 6. But now we're gonna be heading off to kind of a funny area, especially in the original Link's Awakening specifically. We're gonna be going to the Armos Maze in order to find the key for Dungeon 6. And like you saw with the Magic Rod there, it created a lot of lag when I did that glitch to despawn the enemies. And, you know, if you like lag, you're going to be seeing it a lot on these screens here. Basically, since we still have Bow Wow, since we never returned him, along with the fact that there's so many enemies spawning on these screens, the game just like slows down dramatically. It's very noticeable. It's not like you're stream lagging or anything. It's just really this slow. So we just have to like just try and get through, really.
Also nice, Bow Wow sometimes eats the Armos if you do like correct movement to get some arrow drops, which are pretty useful.
The Magic Rod is not only good for despawning as well, it's also a really strong weapon that you can use to take down bosses such as this one. Got a little bit stunned there, but that's okay. He goes down pretty easily. There's our key to Dungeon 6, the face key. Nice little neutral face.
Yeah, now we're just gonna go to Dungeon 6. And doing a couple more deloads right there to despawn the Armos there, also skipping the lag on that room. I believe it's technically very slightly faster to deload all of these rooms, but
Yeah.
deloading is a frame perfect trick, so it's not really worth it. It's only
Exactly,
like a very
yeah.
slight time save.
It is a very precise trick in the end, but you are allowed to retry it as many times as you would like, so it's really not that punishing. If you happen to miss one of them, you can just retry it right away. And now we're coming up on Dungeon 6. We're gonna have Bow Wow help us out by eating this Armos here. And we're gonna do another cutscene skip for the dungeon opening, similar to Dungeon 7, except this time we just have the Magic Rod and we're able to despawn things. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna equip the Magic Rod right before hitting the keyhole, do a little deload, touch the keyhole, and no cutscene. We can just run straight to the dungeon and not have to watch it rise up from the ground, so that's much faster.
Yeah, and in this dungeon is pretty much just another bunch of deloads, like right here. A deload of this room. Right here is gonna be another deload to skip the next room. As you see, just a super powerful glitch.
Yeah, and that's why it was very important that we routed Dungeon 8 so much earlier in the run, even though we hadn't beaten a lot of the dungeons prior. We're gonna do a little bit of a super jump here to just get wall clipped into the right wall to set up a super jump up here. And now we're already gonna be on the boss key of this dungeon. Just like that.
Can't wait to see you fight the boss.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, the rest of this dungeon is just gonna have like a bunch of despawns as well, so if you have any messages, now might be a good time as well.
We've got $25 from Anonymous, my favorite flavor, that's going towards the Lego Pirates, giving us more of that disguise. We have got $10 from Bamboo Shadow. Says, good luck, Nitros. Glad to see Link's Awakening GB at ESA again. $10 for Make-A-Wish, and don't forget, this has got to be a reference to Close the Wishes, Winky Face. And the reaction screams that that's definitely a reference. Greetings from Germany. And again, I think this is another reference to a Zelda thing. You know, we'll see. Maybe there'll be a reaction. So it's one day, the dream that is ESA winter will end. Yet even if it is a beautiful dream, still we must wake up.
Nice. Another ICS, by the way. We're at 4 out of 4 ICSs. Wow.
Yeah, it's going really well so far.
Those are all frame perfect one-try tricks, by the way. It's kind of insane that he's hitting all of them. That last one was a reference, by the way. It's like the final text box of the game or something, I think.
How you know your lore?
Yeah, for sure.
Now that we have the magic rod and everything, we're just gonna go on a bit of a cleanup with all of the rest of the dungeons in the game. This is gonna be dungeon 5. And it's got some interesting tricks down that were found sort of recently, I guess with respect to other Link's Awakening tricks. First, we're just gonna like head through the dungeon and grab a small key in order to access the upper half of the dungeon. After that, we're gonna be doing some more interesting skips, but for now, we're just heading through here, killing some enemies, unlocking the way. In this side-scrolling section, there's these like pendulums or whatever they have to kind of balance on to get through. This room can be kind of obnoxious because, again, a lot of lag can get created by breaking the crystals and having these skeletons. But we got the key, no problem. But like I said, coming up there's gonna be... this is actually one of the few dungeons where we can actually skip even passing through the boss room because of one of the super jump tricks coming up.
Yeah, and this one is actually fairly new. There isn't really much new things being discovered about this game in terms of being useful in speedruns, but this one is a pretty new skip, I would say.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna make our way to a room right here, deloading once again. And super jumping into these blocks. And so skip coming up right here. Let's see if he gets it. So he's gonna bait this Stelphos. Oh, huh? Okay. Very nice. Wow. Doing another one of the super jump shield bumps as we saw in dungeon 3. Sadly, he was like 1 frame early on the menu there.
Now you get to see the beautiful instrument cutscene.
You gotta show it off once, right?
Well, show it off originally in Dungeon 1.
Thankfully, you don't get really penalized at all besides the time of the actual cutscene, and this current iteration of the Warpless route. Doesn't really matter if you mess up the skips, you can just continue on like normal. There were other routes in the past where you kind of relied on getting the skips because they actually like unset some story progression flags.
Yeah, in 100%, for example, it's still required to get the Dungeon 4 ICS because it skips actually, wait, is that true? Yeah.
Yeah.
It skips a cutscene that you don't want. And so now we're gonna make our way back to Dungeon 8, clear that up. Just using these warp portals again.
Yeah, normally I feel like this warp point to Dungeon 8 is really useless in a Clash Royale playthrough, but it's really good here because we can just go straight back. The reason why I didn't beat this dungeon originally is because when you finish the dungeon, it takes you back to the main entrance. And in that case, I would rather have... I'd rather use the warp to get to Dungeon 6 instead. Because I'm gonna want to go back to the main entrance this time around instead. Just a little super jump there to get over the lava, and another despawn on the boss, because we don't need to fight him.
Nice, and another ICS coming up right here. That was like a frame late right there.
It is, again, pretty precise. You need to hit it exactly on the frame that you land on the instrument, so it's very tricky.
Still, first 4 ICSs that's incredible.
We'll see if we get a 5th one as well in Dungeon 2. It's the final dungeon, and we're coming up on the end of the run actually. There's not that much left. The reason why we saved the Dungeon 2 in the end is because it's going to be on the way to the area of the final boss, so we're just going to be walking over there from Dungeon 8. A couple of moblins on the way. Yeah, Dungeon 2, of course, also going to be having a lot of despawning. There is only one really tricky room to actually get the boss key, where you have to kill enemies in a certain order. It's a bit of a tricky puzzle, and it's also kind of a hard room to do fast in a speedrun, since the enemies do move a bit randomly, so, I mean, I'll just have to work with what I get, essentially. Coming up right here. I want to kill the bunny first, then the bat, and then the skeleton. Kind of dodging my shot there, but that's okay.
The skeleton going down so you couldn't shoot it from the other side of the room. And just another deload, as you do.
Alright, so this section is also greatly sped up by having boots. We can just like jump on air, no problem, because this game is very well coded. And another little deload for this boss here. And we're coming up on the final instrument of the run.
Ah, very nice. Last ICS still hit. 5 out of 7. That's honestly
Definitely
great
not
for
bad at
frame
all.
perfect
Yeah.
tricks. And the final boss is just to the right here. So
Yeah, we're gonna be doing one final deload here to skip an Al cutscene because we really just don't want to talk to him. And one more bomb trigger here in order to actually initiate the cutscene up here. Because normally in this game, you're actually supposed to get this item instrument called the Ocarina, which, you know, you might recognize from other Zelda games as well. You can actually see Link playing it there with his hands, but yeah, as we've explained, the bomb triggers can essentially just trigger any cutscene in the game without actually having the prerequisites. Just by placing 2 bombs really close to each other, you know, right before the screen transition and right away after. And you get to enjoy this beautiful song. Maybe time for like 1 or 2 messages right before we get onto the final boss as well.
So we have a $10 donation from Phoenix X Scenery, and I believe this is for our German restream because it's entirely in German. But the translation is roughly, a great event and thank you at Germans for the restream. Heart, you are the best. And thank you so much for that. It's just to remind people that for those of us who are not English first language, we do have multiple restreams. If you go on our, the page, twitch.tv/ESA Marathon, you'll be able to see the other streams and donate to their also like restream dedicated pages in your native language. So it's a wonderful feature built into Tiltify. Highly encourage you to participate in your language featured event features.
Okay, this Windfish is actually supposed to have like a maze that you're supposed to figure out with a side quest, but it just has a default path that we can go through every time, so it's pretty easy to go through in a speedrun. Here I'm gonna really want to mash bombs. Okay. That's okay, I'll just save and quit and try again. It's a little bit hard to match because I don't have like a table under my arm, but it's okay. I'll just try again, no problem. We'll respawn at the start of the egg and just go through the maze, but...
Just making time for another donation right here, going through the maze.
True.
If we have one.
I would just say to people, just get on it. Yeah, until we know exactly the ones that we've missed out on and caught up. But we are currently, from where I started, exactly where we need to be. But I can tell you things like, we're currently at $85 out of $500 for our Lego Pirates of the Caribbean. Put a disguise on all the characters. We're also at $2,830 total in the first 3 hours of the event. So, I mean, like, we could probably get at easy, like, $170. One donation probably right now to, like, round off this wonderful Zelda run before we go into the bonus any percent run. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
So
a lot of things
here,
happening in this final boss.
So I just did a quick kill on that blob there. You're normally meant to use the powder on it, but I just used the sword with a precise lineup, which also for some reason does damage. And now we're on to Aghanim here, which I'm gonna try accomplishing a little manipulation of by standing in some specific spots.
Yeah, he
See
can
if
either
that's
shoot
working
you
out.
energy balls or blue balls, and if you walk to the correct pixel, he will only shoot energy balls.
Alright, nice.
Nice.
Fun little strat here to kind of deal with the next phase here. It's going to be Moldorm again from Dungeon 1, but I'm just going to stun lock him by locking my dash into place with using the shovel and just utterly own him. Here's Ganon. We're going to be dashing into him a few times to just deal with him. I'll play a little bit safe here since I lost some hearts earlier, but it really shouldn't be a big problem.
Yeah, the final phase can be a little bit scary, but... Ooh.
Just trying to really dash him. Alright, so this final phase might be the most tricky one, also the most luck-based one. So it's gonna be Devil here. It's this core with 2 arrows, or arms I should say, kind of like swinging around. And we're gonna want him to open his eye and shoot 16 arrows into it. And he's gonna go down. And the eyes open at a random timer. This is really good, actually.
Oh my god, that was insane RNG. Eyes opening instantly. Those eyes can take like seconds to open up, and that was it.
So now time is going to be on the white fade
Top of the stairs,
staircase.
and time.
Right there.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah, that was not bad. So that was Link's Awakening Warpless, and I believe we do also had the incentive met to show off the any percent speedrun as well.
Absolutely.
So I guess we'll just get on with that if we can get a reset on the timer. But again, really cool speed game Link's Awakening. So many interesting tricks. Despite the restrictions of Warpless, we're able to do so much cool stuff. But you might be wondering, because that was Warpless, you might be wondering what you can actually accomplish with Warps as well. So that's what we're going to try doing now.
Yeah, and this run is going to be super fast-paced, so get ready for it. After this cutscene.
Yeah. So when you're allowed to do warps, there's this really major glitch in this game, only in the 1.0 versions, some other versions too, but it's called screen warping, which basically works by pressing select on pretty much the same time that you enter another screen. The game pretty much preserves the position of Link on the next screen as well. So you see I'm like warping across the next screen. And it is a very, very powerful form of traveling.
Yeah, and just straight at the sword in 30 seconds.
Alright, I'm kind of messed up there a little bit. I kind of want to do this screen warp in such a way that I get the sword on the left screen, like that.
Yeah,
so we don't have to watch.
Text.
Yeah, so we don't have to watch the owl talking.
And so right after this sword cutscene, we're gonna go back to the right, and we're gonna do a screen warp down. So you might wonder what happens when we do a screen warp at the end of the map. And let's see this. So we're actually just going to the top of the map, and that's very convenient because we're right at Dungeon 8. And this is very good because at Dungeon 8, if we do a couple more screen warps like this, we end up at the final boss. So we need to do a couple more screen warps. Some of these screen warps are frame perfect, just like this one right here. Very nice. And now the game is very messed up.
Yeah, so we're basically loading the final boss multiple times here because I normally can't just fight them with the sword and shield. Let's just see if I can get this. Alright, perfect. So now what I've basically done is that, because I went into the screen multiple times at the screen warp, I've basically spawned the final boss twice. So, I mean, let me introduce you to Double Nightmare right here. This is Double Aghanim. Again, like before, we're going to be trying to reflect 4 energy balls, but this time we can't actually manipulate him, so we're kind of at the mercy of RNG here.
Let's see.
Oh, a double blue ball.
Balls.
Alright, so
We need 2 more energy balls to kill him.
yeah, it can get a little bit dicey here if I get really unlucky, because I am gonna preferably want to have some health by the end of this boss in order to actually survive. Alright. Now, I really hope that I get the preferred outcome here. Alright, nice. Okay.
So it's actually kind of random. So we have these 2 bosses, and one of them transforms into a spear here. But there's actually also a chance that he like either completely disappears or transforms into a second Ganon, and both of those cases would just softlock you. And we really need the spear, so it's very nice that we got it. And Ganon is just stuck in place right now.
So I'm gonna wait a little bit for killing this phase here, just to kind of spawn the next phase in a favorable spot. Right there should be about good.
Yeah, so now...
So that spear is gonna actually turn into Devil, and it's gonna immediately die because it has no HP. So just gonna try navigating this with all the lag.
And because he's gonna die, the stairs spawn, but there's still another Deathel on screen, and we need to... unfortunately.
Alright. So that part is really tricky because you have like very little health, and I kind of did some mistakes with the movement, so we're just gonna try it again. Luckily, I have that save in Dungeon 8 that puts us very close to where this glitch actually takes place. So we can just attempt it again, no problem.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid because... because you can't really see the arms because the sprites are overloaded, so they're invisible. And the arms deal like a full heart of damage, and we literally only have 3 hearts because we didn't do anything. So we're gonna have to fight the boss again here.
I'll just see if I can spawn this properly here. Alright.
Yeah, you need to kind of wait for the blob to hit the ground so that the Aghanims are in a good position here.
Don't worry, if you're confused about what's happening, it is just very complicated in this glitch. There is not very good documentation on it, which is why it can be a very random at the end. Basically, the way it ends up with the faces. Alright, so I got one blue bar healer. Surely we get an energy ball on this phase.
Oh, wow. Just bad RNG.
Yeah, again, it is a bit annoying if you get a bit unlucky here, since the blue balls you can now reflect back.
Oh my god.
So I'm taking a lot of damage here, which might be kind of scary for the final phase again. Yeah.
Wow, what is going on?
So this is kind of rough right now. We'll see what ends up happening. Okay, we're left with half a heart, so I mean, we'll see if we have any luck with the face this time. We did get the spear once again, so I'm gonna try playing it a bit more safely this time. This Ganon fight is also really tricky to execute with all the lag going around. Again, this is just a game on the original Game Boy, so, you know, not the fastest processor in the world. Obviously, they never intended you to do something like this with 2 final bosses, but, yeah. Alright, so we'll see how it goes this time. Gonna try to bait the final phase properly, and we'll see if I can get through. Okay. Yeah, it's really tricky because the boss generates so much lag there that it's very tricky to actually move around. So yeah, we might be going a little bit over time here, but it should hopefully.
That's fine. You're.
Oops, okay.
Yeah, missed the screen orb there. It's another soft log. But it's fine. You got such a good warpless time that.
We'll see if I can get it next time, but otherwise, I mean, you basically saw the end, because once the stairs are there, you would basically just climb the stairs again and reach the credits exactly the same as the first time in Final Boss.
Yeah, also some interesting trivia maybe that before, like years ago, the ruling was that the time ends on touching the stairs, but actually with this glitch where you spawn multiple bosses, you can actually die on the stairs. So the timing was changed to end when reaching the end of the stairs, because yeah, you might die before finishing.
Alright, so let's see if we have better luck this time. If not, I mean, it's alright, I guess. We could just, like, kill the run, because you basically saw, like, the extent of it. It is just very tricky to stay alive on the final phase if you get unlucky on this phase and take a bunch of damage. We'll see if I get luckier this time, could maybe make it a little bit easier.
Alright, nice.
Ah, okay, missed the energy shot. Maybe I can get another one here. We'll see. Alright,
okay,
so
okay.
let's see if we can get the favorable transformation here again. It would be really nice. Ow.
Yeah,
man.
see, so there he just didn't transform at all.
Okay, we'll give it one more try through the boss just to see, but yeah, again, this is quite a volatile category, even though it can be really fast. And honestly, it really should have been. I kind of like threw pretty hard on that first attempt, sadly, but yeah, we'll see if I can get through on this attempt here.
But he is like pretty consistently hitting all those frame perfect screen orbs that.
Yeah, if you're slightly off on these, you will actually just crash the game, so it's actually really scary. It's nice that I'm nailing these at least.
Alright, let's see this
Alright,
last try.
one more try on the boss. We'll just see if I can get a nice run here going.
Alright, come on. Double energy
Looking
balls.
good.
Nice, nice.
Really good luck,
Just
but
need
we'll
the Ganon to
see.
transform.
We need the faces to cooperate here.
Nice, alright, got the spear. And he's full health, which is really good for the final phase.
Alright, took a little bit of damage there. I'll just take it safe from now on. Alright, there goes Ganon, and we'll go another spin attack there. So let's see if we can survive a little bit better this
Yeah,
time.
this time he has a lot of health, so can actually damage boost on the stairs. Because otherwise you would really want to bait the death ult to not hit you while you're on the stairs, and
Oh,
looks perfectly
nice.
fine. And get ready for
I'm
time.
gonna be right.
Right there.
There.
Last try.
All right.
What a tough run, but you did it, man.
Yeah, a little bit of a
Very nice.
disappointing time, but again, it's such a volatile category that even like finishing a run is honestly a bit of an accomplishment with all the
Yeah,
precise warps and the RNG. But that's Link's Awakening, both warpless and with warps. I hope you enjoy the runs. I want to give a couple of quick shout-outs to some people that helped me out in this game, namely some of the top runners. Alas and Seisei gave me a lot of advice when I was trying to get good originally and pushing for the record, and also obviously to all of my buddies here watching, helping out on the commentary, and of course to ESA for having me. So thanks a lot, and hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you.
Good job, Nitros.